let's also come back to the org chart. And Layla, could you describe how that was done, what it ended up looking like, what were the implications, and just kind of walk us through that? And I remember in our first conversation, I told the story of, and maybe not the best example, since it is ultimately has been superseded by Netflix and superior technology, but Blockbuster, back in the day when Blockbuster as a company was about to become a Blockbuster, brought in, I believe, someone from McDonald's, an exec, to specifically help them with org chart design. I've never designed an org chart. So could you just describe what happened and where you landed with it?
Yeah, I mean, we've gone through a bunch of different org charts. I mean, when we were from 0 to, call it 30 employees, our org chart was very flat, as in I was managing everybody. That was that. And I actually think, maybe I took it a little too far, but I actually think for the first 0 to N, where N is around maybe 20 to 30 people, the best thing you can do as a CEO is be a micromanager. I actually believe that. When you are such a small company, usually you don't quite yet have product market fit. You haven't really figured everything out. You have one goal, get the product market fit. And I don't think you should be in the business of, kind of like coaching people for this or that. No. I think you just micromanage people to get to product market fit. I actually believe that. At some point, it really shifts, even if you love micromanaging, which I love micromanaging, but I've learned not to do that anymore. Even if you love it, at some point, this just becomes, you just can't do it as well. And it is in your best interest to start actually developing people. And, that shift should happen maybe at around 20. I don't know the exact number. That is when you should really start having kind of a couple of managers, I think, splitting things up into teams. What we did then is not like we had a pretty good idea of exactly what our org chart should look like, but what we did was we hired our first manager. That wasn't me. It's a woman this was maybe, 7 years ago, something like that. It's a woman that's still with us. She's now the head of all of engineering. She used to be a director of engineering at Google. And I knew her because after selling reCAPTCHA, I spent some time at Google. I knew her. I really liked her. Her name is Natalie Glantz. She's amazing. And she took a much smaller job at Duolingo. She was managing, it's just a larger job that she had. And she took a smaller job at Duolingo. I think she really believed in us. And she helped us, well, from her is where I learned how to manage people really much better. She actually knew how to manage people. And she really helped us, kind of start having a structure of, well, we have some managers. And that really made a big difference, starting to have teams. Then the thing that we did after that is we discovered this idea of metrics-based teams, which to this day we use, and I think has been a really, really good thing. I think this is not the common thing, although some companies do it. It's not the common thing. So at Duolingo, in the standard thing that you would have in a company, for example, at Duolingo, the app has a bunch of different features. One of the features could be we have a leaderboard, for example. We have a leaderboard, that's a feature. In many companies, kind of the normal thing to do is that you have a leaderboard team, a team that owns that big feature. So just kind of you split it up by feature. These are feature-based teams. We do not do feature-based teams. We do metrics-based teams. So we don't have a team that owns the leaderboard. Instead, we have a bunch of teams that own each a single metric. So for example, a metric that we have is time spent learning. What they own is the number of minutes per day that the average user uses Duolingo for. And it turns out that changes to the leaderboard can increase or decrease time spent learning if you do the right or the wrong thing. So that team messes with the leaderboard a lot, but they don't own it. The only thing they do is they have this one metric, and every quarter it has to increase. And so they just work on increasing this one metric, and they run hundreds of A/B tests to increase this metric. So we discovered that, soon after Natalie showed up, we discovered these metric-based teams. And we started, at first, our first metric-based team was a retention team, which is, look, all you have to do is make sure that users come back every day. And that team has done all kinds of things, really optimized the streak on Duolingo. So there's this notion of a streak that people have.
Yeah, people have used it, every day for 7 years? I was looking at the streaks.
The streak is crazy. We have... Well, the number's a little larger, but now that we're a public company, we can't reveal numbers as... The latest number we've revealed is that we have 1.5 million daily active users that have a streak longer than a year, meaning they have not missed a single day in the last year or longer. So that's a very powerful mechanic. The retention team has worked on that. So basically, what we did is we discovered these metric-based teams. And what we do now at Duolingo is when we care about a metric that we want to optimize. So a metric could be daily revenue or whatever it is. We form a team around that metric. And that has worked out pretty well. That's kind of one big shift with us that happened. And then the other big shift that happened is, so that worked out pretty well. At some point, we had like 50 teams, I don't know, maybe a little less, maybe like 40 teams. And that was starting to become, we use the term goat rodeo. It started to become this craziness. And so what we did is we decided to pool the teams together that were similar to each other into this thing called areas. So now, for example, we have a monetization area. Inside the monetization area, we have a team that owns ad revenue per day. We have a team that owns subscription revenue per day. We have a team, so that, and then we have another area called the growth area where it's just growing our active users. We have a team that owns time spent learning. We have a team that owns retention. We have another team that owns new user retention, etc. And so we split up into areas, and that's how we're split up now. And what has been really good is, and the shift for me has been, it went from micromanager to kind of learning how to manage to now what I do is I'm a manager of managers. Well, I'm a manager of managers of managers of managers, but at some point that kind of doesn't matter that much. You're just a manager of managers is kind of what matters. And I've learned how to start managing managers much better. I've gotten good at it.